Okay guys, so we'll show you how to get a wall floated and rubbed up here, ready for skim coat. So guys, you want that real good, perfect professional finish on your gypsum, on your multi-finish, on your car light. Then it all starts here on the float coat. And I'm gonna go just sort of narrate through this video here and talk about all the steps, the tools, the methods that I'm using. As my friend Michael would say in work recently, this week on the Mac Plastering show, we show you how to float a wall ready for your skim coat plaster. He's a great lad, working with him, having some good fun, good banter back and forward in work. Some about the channel as well. But back to the video, guys. Really, the first stage is applying the sand and cement render. Now, a couple of things before that. Obviously, you're going to need a hawk and trowel. Again, you could use any type of hawk and any type of trowel. The particular hawk and trowel I'm using for this video is the Pointsman hawk. Always get a lot of comments asking me what type of hawk's that. That's a strange hawk. It is strange, but it's strange for a reason. It helps straighten out your arm a bit, and to me, it's helped me with a bit of an injury I had on my elbow, a bit of strain. So I've always found less pain with this hawk, so I've always stuck by it, and I'll stick by it as long as possible. Now, I did have two, I'm down to one. Hopefully the one in Dublin is still safe and sound in my mate Charles's hands. Hopefully he's actually using away at it, and maybe he'll actually pick one up himself. If he does, give it a go. And then a little bit about the trowel. This trowel in particular is a Tyzac. It's Spear & Jackson Tyzac trowel. Again, I do have trowels that I sort of like a bit better for skimming, but I tend to break a trowel in with my floating and then keep it in reserve for skimming, and then I would always go on to a new trowel for floating again because it rounds them in so much. If I actually showed you this trowel up close, some people actually didn't believe that it was just broken in, it was just wore in from use. They thought that I had actually put a grinder to the corners and rounded them off because they're so round. But honestly, it's just from putting on tons and tons and tons of sand and cement render. And I do tend to use it for the first coat of my gypsum plaster, my finishing plaster. Sometimes first and second coat, and then I will go to my sharper refiner trowel for the next 2 or 3 trowels, and then I'll typically super flex or ultra flex the bad boys off. But back to the video here. So we're using tub mortar. We're on site. Some people call it site bashing, but yeah, we're on site. So the idea here is to get the sand cement on as quick as possible, get it straightened, get it rubbed up, clean all your angles, clean the floors, clean the rooms out, and have it all sitting ready for the next day or two for the skim coat. But basically you have to apply it, and I did get a comment recently on TikTok, and it said about that they thought the first coat was all about pressure, and it didn't look like I was putting a lot of pressure. I was just floating the stuff on. But I guarantee you they wouldn't put their hand in the way of the trowel because they'll feel the pressure of it. It would definitely crush their hand. I do think sometimes the videos make things look a lot easier than what they are, and definitely there's a lot of pressure being applied here. Also a bit of speed at times, because like I said, trying to get it all on and get it straight. I have a family to get home to. But yeah, back to the walls here. And another hot topic is why we don't scud the walls and why we don't soak the walls down. on these houses we've been doing on site, they're fresh, which means that they're not built that long, and the blocks are fresh, which means again they're not built that long, but they're also not probably made that long either. So there's something there's a level of something we call hot. The wall's hot, and what that means is it's to do with suction. It means the draining. These walls are not draining. Under no pressure, especially this door wall because it's a bit heavier. The dead walls you can put them on as long as they're straight, that little bit thinner. 5-6 mil you might have in places, up to 10 mil, and then you're going to have obviously your finishing coat plaster, which is going to be another 2-3 mil, on two coats obviously. But yeah, sometimes the dead walls will dry a wee bit quicker just because the coat's that bit later. But yes, as a plasterer you must learn to control the suction. You must learn to read the wall. A good way of doing that, guys, if you're a DIYer or you're an apprentice, is throw a wee scrape up the wall, and then load up your board, get your your wheelbarrow filled, your buckets filled, whatever you're doing, get your mix all done, get another mix ready to go in, or get another mix in, get just get ultra prepared, and then go and poke the wall that you just put a wee bit on, see if it's drying in. If it's drying in too much and you think I wouldn't be able to handle that, then your walls probably need to wet down. They might need cup down. A cup is a good way to do it. Pour water down, it'll really saturate the wall and you'll have no suction whatsoever. So that's one thing I want to talk about suction. Obviously you want to make sure there's no dust and no big jobs left from the bricklayers. Brush that off, scrape the corners down, scrape any big snotters off the wall so you're ready to go with your sand, cement, render. That's all in preparation. So that's all something I've done previous this record button even being pushed. I've already went around, checked them corners, had a look at the walls, maybe even threw a straight edge across that door there so I know how heavy one side's gonna be and how much I need to build out. So again, me tips for you guys. So that's covering suction. So let's talk now about scud coat. So a lot of comments on TikTok keep saying about scud coat. I think it's a more southern thing from where I am, where they scud their blocks. But that's to do with the actual block, guys, more than suction. If anybody thinks it's to do with suction, it's actually not on this particular comments that I get. It's more to do with the key, the grip. So basically these blocks are designed not to need scudded. You can just coat straight over them. If you do look closely, you can see they're quite porous really, and the render does tend to get right in there. And this particular site's been going apparently 20 to 30 years. It's huge, and I haven't heard of anybody having any issues with any delaminating render on the inside or the outside for that matter, guys. There is some outsides here, and no, they were not scudded. They were probably just a sprinkle of water and scraped scratch coat and then float coat. Again, if your blocks are smooth and aren't, you don't trust the key on them, absolutely give them a scud coat. And you can find scud coat mixes on this channel as well. You can find render mixes on this channel also. So back to the coating. I've almost got this wall done, and once it took me nearly 10 minutes. There's only been one slight cut on this where the foreman asked me to move my van, even though I'm parked in the place where I was told to park. But yeah, so that's been the only wee cut on this video. So I have been coating this wall for a good 10 minutes basically, but it's coming on well. Just pacing myself out. I have 3 to 4 tubs to put on. It actually works out, obviously, because this is in the past for me. It's now in your present, you're watching it, it's present from me to you. It took 3.5 tubs, so not bad at all pre-mixed on site. And you can see the setup we're using. A board stand here in this particular room, and that will serve the whole room right in the middle, do the whole room, and then possibly bring it a bit closer to the door to do the walls in the hallway. So here's probably, you know, the most important part of rendering, guys, and that's getting that wall straight. And you can see now, if I fast forward into the future, we'll have multiple walls on and straightened. But for the likes of this dead wall, guys, I like to straighten it both ways first. I know some people like to straighten it all one way first, then fill out and straighten. But I personally like to pull across and then come up and down from the ceiling, and then I'll start filling in. Sometimes I'll leave the top angle to the very end because it saves me a lot of bother up and down the crates. So I'll tend to, just leave that to the very end. But on this wall, fortunately, it's not too bad. Coated it out nice and fat, as Kirk Giordano would say, fat and ugly. So yeah, coated it out nice and fat, and then you just strike your aluminium straight edge, or your timber that's really straight, or your box level, whatever it is that you have that is straight and is able to cut off the render. Then you just pull off. All the misses tend to be smooth, as long as you're using a feather edge and you're cutting it. They'll be smooth, and what you do is you cut them all back off after you apply the extra into the slacks. You fill them out, as I'm doing here, and then you strike your rule up across again, and that's the wall perfectly straight. Now guys, don't expect to be getting your wall straight on the first time you rule it off. Expect to put a bit of work into it. Um, you know, you're gonna find out, how tidy you coat when you come to actually straighten up. Which again leads me to another comment we had one time: is stop playing with it. If you're gonna rule it off, it doesn't need to be so neat and tidy. But I can tell you guys, if you're doing a full room the way I'm doing here, and you're gonna coat things messy, it will be harder to straighten. Believe me, if you're leaving lines in it and lumps in it, you're just giving yourself more work. The tidier you put it on to start, the easier it is to straighten up. It's the same as your finish, guys. Don't listen to anybody says lump it on, so you're going to trowel it up. Yes, you want to get it on quick and get home to your family and all and get it finished. But the neater you put it on, the quicker you're going to be done. So, it's these little battles. Sometimes you have to realize, the neater you are, the quicker you will be. More than the quicker you are, the longer it's going to take you to tidy up. Again, the room doesn't have much mess in it, so there's not much waste. And once you get it straightened, guys, you're just going to be floating it up as such. So you're going to want to have a float. Again, the more broken the float is, the better. But this is how Plaster gets their nice rendering floats for outside, that people seem to think mine's is like a triangle, because they always end up broken so much at the front end that they almost look like a triangle. But yeah, that's cool. But yeah, so this is how Plaster breaks in their float. They use it for what's called devil floating, or what my mate D says, God floating. He takes the devil out of it. He calls this God floating. And all we're doing here is we're just flattening it in, but we're leaving a key at the same time to grip our plaster, our finishing plaster, our gypsum. Again, if this was lime render, it would be the exact same method here on, even floating out the wall and straightening it up and then floating it. Just might take you, a bit longer. You have to come back and hydrate the wall for the next 10-12 days. But yeah, again, a little bit on the ground there. You can always use them bits just to fill in any biggish holes, guys. As like I said, the neater you are now, the easier your skim coat will be.
That goes in eternity.